Weird Realities explores the paranormal, preternatural, and supernatural worlds that surround us. Here we delve into those topics that challenge us to think outside the limitations of realism, where we test the boundaries of imagination and are forced to think outside the confines and restrictions of what is normal. We are the creators, the writers, the artists, and the insane. Welcome to our Weird Realities.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Thursday. I'm here tonight with Alan Gamboa, Rich Restucci, and tonight we're going to do something a little different. Since yesterday was the 81st anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, we decided for today to do war movies, mostly related to Pearl Harbor or the war at sea. Before we begin, you know the drill. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe. If you're enjoying the show, hit the like button, and we're dying to see the comments. And if you are watching, both my mother and my wife from her hospital bed, hi guys.
Hey, Allison. I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, she is right now. They got her drugged up on so many pain meds.
Oh, well, sometimes that's the best thing.
Good. Yeah.
So, Alan, how's it going?
Good. Hey, Max.
Hey, Maxie.
I just wanted to throw out there. I've got a new release out right now.
Yes, I saw.
It got dropped on me yesterday by surprise.
Saw that. Yeah.
My publisher and co-author said, "Hey, it's out now on Facebook," and I was like, "Holy crap!" So it's Hunt the Night. If you want to read some apocalyptic mutant monster horror, look for Hunt.
You had me at mutant horror.
Right. Do you know when it's going to drop on paper?
No, he told me soon.
Okay.
He told me he
Awesome.
messaged me yesterday and
let us know.
Told me soon.
Thank
I will.
you.
I definitely will.
And Rich,
Hi.
hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. All is well.
Okay.
I don't have anything to drop except for my beer cans right now. So I'm just.
I thought you were going to say your balls.
No, they're right where they are. Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment.
It's a
Hey, Tony?
sausage. It's a
Alan?
sausage fest
Hadley?
tonight. So,
Oh, Hallie's there.
Yeah.
Hallie, jump on. Oh, no.
Ooh.
She's probably heard that before.
all right.
Hey, Max, Alan, Tony, Mike. Good to see you guys.
Yes. Yep. Tonight's going to be war movies, and we got some good ones. And Mona joined us. Hey. All right. As I was saying, because it's the 81st anniversary of World War II, we decided to pick war movies. We're going to start with Tora, 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 the movie about the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Hadley, who cannot be with us tonight because of the alien abduction, she had picked 1941, but Alan's going to do that, and I'm going to do Alan's movie, the 2019 Midway, with Woody Harrelson and Patrick Wilson. Excellent movie. And then Rich decided to go to the opposite side of the globe, and we're going to be doing the new Tom Hanks movie, Greyhound. So, okay,
hey, Tony, I joined us.
Tony's with us. Hey, Tony.
Tony, I.
All right, so let me start. We'll start with where it all began, Pearl Harbor. Movies, Tora, 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 1970. If you're a World War II fan, I started getting into history when I was about 12 years old. My father took me to see the original Midway with Charlton Heston and Henry Fonda. Loved the movie. Wanted to know how accurate it was. And I started reading all of Walter Lord's books, Miracle at Midway, Day of Infamy, and that. And that's what got me hooked on history and World War II history. I did a lot of research when I saw Tora, Tora, Tora. This movie is not only is it an extremely accurate portrayal of the events leading up to Pearl Harbor, but it is still considered one of the most accurate historical war movies ever made. No sense really going into the plot, but it deals with how the Japanese Empire was, how they made the decision, how they tried to expand into Southeast Asia to get the oil and the mineral supplies that were cut off by the United States after the invasion of China. And it deals with the one of the great things I loved about the movie, it was done by both the Americans and the Japanese. The Americans used Richard Fleischer as the director. He's known for these epic movies. He did The Vikings in 1958, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So he knew how to do these movies. The Japanese originally had chosen Kurosawa of the Seven Samurai fame, but they had to remove him because Kurosawa was wanting to do a adventure movie, and he really couldn't keep himself to the confines of historical reality. So they removed him and they brought in Kinji Fukasaku, who's very well known for the 2000 Battle Royale movie. And they also brought in Toshio Masuda, who did Tora 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 and 10 years later, The Battle of Port Arthur. And the movie is extraordinarily accurate. It's got an all-star cast. One of the things that always fascinated me about it was the complete collapse of the intelligence system. The information was out there. It just wasn't getting to the right people. It was such a hodgepodge. One important message was being delivered by courier, but because nobody marked it as priority, it didn't show up until 2 hours after the attack began. They talked about the magic and how at one point even Roosevelt wasn't allowed to get the top secret information. It's very good. It's historic. There's a few inaccuracies in it, but I mean, they're like one of the ships that the Japanese take off of was actually a 1960s American carrier with the angled flight deck. Some of the planes, like the B-17s used in it, weren't the original B-17s from 1941. They were late war B-17s. But other than that, it's a fantastic movie. I love it. It's fantastic. The only thing, and being historically accurate, they got Genda, Minoru Genda, who planned the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. And they got David Prague, who Pranger, I think, one of his books was used to write the script. And they ran it by these guys constantly, and they made all the changes to it. And when the movie came out, even veterans who are at Pearl Harbor, whether on the Japanese or the American side, said that that's exactly how they remembered it, how they played out. The only part of the movie that's inaccurate, but it's inaccurate in every movie, is at the end of the movie where Yamamoto says, "We have awakened a sleeping giant and filled him with sleeping and filled him with like an angry resolve." That has never been proven to be said. They never knew if some people claim that they heard him say that, but most of the people say that was just made up. That was something that was written later to sort of boost him. One little bit of trivia I found out watching this movie. You guys remember when the Ward, the destroyer outside of Pearl Harbor, the one that was being commanded by Oudenbridge, and he caught the Japanese mini sub trying to sneak in and sank it, and nobody believed him. They thought he was chasing ghosts. Oudenbridge eventually got a command of another destroyer, and the next time he saw a battle in the Pacific, it was at Leyte Gulf. And his old command, the Ward, was heavily damaged at Leyte Gulf, and Oudenbridge was the one that had to sink the Ward, which I thought was bizarre, but that's perfect for this show. Before we go into the next one, what did you guys think of it?
I saw this one when I was probably in junior high. And I was like, oh, cool. It's like when Earthquake came out. It came out around the
Yeah.
time to Earthquake and all those movies with Sense Around, all these gimmicks, Towering Inferno and all that. And I was looking, I thought that was what this movie was going to be. You know, it was more of a docudrama than anything else. So I was like, I sat through it, you know. I'm not like World War II. I love those movies, but it just, so I wasn't really looking forward to watching it again because I just didn't have good memories of it. And so I watched it again, and it was interesting. It was really interesting. I liked it better because I knew what I was getting into. You know, I knew it was going to be more of an explanation of what happened with actors than, you know, really an action movie, you know, like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. But
that movie will not be named on this show.
That's your favorite movie, isn't it?
Oh my God, that's going to be my hell. I'm going to be strapped to a chair and be made to watch that movie for eternity.
Yeah. Yeah. Airport. Yeah. Airport 75, Airport 77, Concorde, all those. So I enjoyed it more this time as more of a, you know, informative movie than as a kid when I was looking forward to seeing, you know, John Wayne, you know. So I enjoyed it better this time than when I saw it as a kid.
Okay.
I give you that.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I thought I thought the Japanese viewpoint was just really novel. I hadn't you just didn't see that kind of thing, and you haven't since then. I mean, they'll delve into a little bit of it in your other Pearl Harbor movies, but that was a full film filmed, you know, by the Japanese, about the Japanese. It was great.
Yes.
It was really good. Enemies, but was it filmed well? Excellent. And it was really good. And some of the stuff that you see in the movie about, like Scott said, the intelligence is just, I mean, come on. You're parking your ships and your planes along in a row, and all they got to do is drop a bomb and you're screwed. But nobody could do it. They won't be able to do it. But what if they can? So, I mean, we learned a huge lesson, but at the cost of, you know, thousands of lives. It was sad. But this film is just, it's really done well. And everybody that isn't a huge star from, you know, the late 70s, early or mid 70s is in this movie. This is just, you look at, oh, I know that guy. The guy's RNS. What's the guy's name from them?
James Whitmore.
James Whitmore.
James Whitmore. He played Halsey.
Yeah. He's in it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember him. So it was great. Jason Robards is in it. I mean, it was pretty good. I definitely recommend. If you guys haven't seen Tora, you need to see it.
And the other thing I like when you talk about the Japanese perspective, I love the fact that they went into the details about how the Japanese ambassador to the United States didn't know that there was going to be an attack. They let him out of it. So rather than deliver the declaration of war 30 minutes before Pearl Harbor, he was so intent on making it accurate, he delivered it an hour after the attack began. So
no, like I said, as a kid I was expecting a different movie, you know, and so I knew what I was getting into now, and so I enjoyed it a lot better, you know, a lot more. And I like that it was shot, you had your American version and then you had your Japanese version. You know, I thought that was pretty cool because you had guys that were there making that movie. And
Martin Balsam was in World War II.
Was he?
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, and the special effects were great for 1970.
Yeah.
You know, the attack on the airfields, the explosion of the Arizona. I mean,
it took a minute to get there too.
Yeah.
It was a long movie up to the point of the attack.
Oh yeah.
And it was worth the wait.
And all of those weird, you know, all those like stupid scenes that didn't really happen, like the band on the Nevada quickly going through the national anthem. Dory Miller, the African American cook, who didn't want to just be below deck. He ran up, he grabbed a machine gun, and he started firing on them. And I think he even shot down a Japanese Zero. He got the Navy Cross for that, the second highest honor.
As he should, that was cool.
What would you guys give this movie?
I'll give it a 3.5.
I got to give this one a 4, just for the way it was filmed and how they did it. It was so good.
I got to give it a 5. You know, I'm really picky with my war movies, especially if they're based on historical events. And this one, I could find nothing historically inaccurate on it. So, all right, before we jump into Midway, let's make sure. Oh, Mike gave it a 5.
Oh,
Alan.
5 dongs.
5.
Oh, we
dollars.
got, speaking of
here.
the dong lady's here. Jennifer's here. Morgana's here. Landa. Wow.
Who's this woman?
Lee.
Oh,
Edwards.
Hadley.
Oh, we know her.
Yeah.
Lee Edwards is here.
The only reason we did not pick the final countdown, oh, Hadley just mentioned it, is that we did it a few weeks ago for sci-fi.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we did.
So jumping in, the next movie, which was Alan's movie, is the 2019 Midway, which was done by Roland Emmerich. He directed it. Again, this one had a fairly all-star cast. I got to admit, going into this movie, when I first saw it, I'd seen Pearl Harbor. My friend and I were throwing things at the TV screen. That movie was so bad. And going into this one, I was expecting it to be Patrick Wilson and Woody Harrelson. They actually did a killer job.
Yeah, they nailed it.
They did.
The movie starts with Pearl Harbor attack. The attack on right before the attack, and Patrick Wilson played Leighton, one of the intelligence officers who kept on saying that, this is a possibility. Pearl Harbor might be attacked. Although, there were admirals. Yeah, there was an admiral out there. I don't remember his name, who launched almost identical to what the Japanese did in the late 30s, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, and in the war game destroyed it. And nobody believed it would happen. Everybody thought it was going to be, everybody thought it was just, it could never happen, that they were going to attack, that the Japanese were not smart enough to make it there. It was going to be in the Philippines. And Leighton was one of the few who said, no, this is where they're going to hit. So the movie starts with Woody Harrelson, who played Nimitz, one of the greatest admirals the American Navy ever had, taking over the command of the Pacific. And he tells Leighton, I want you to tell me, do not hold back. If you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. And the movie then goes from there. It goes to the I don't know why they did the attack on the Marshall Islands in February. That had nothing. That was overhyped, in my opinion. They made it sound like we, kicked ass. We did nothing. We bombed the islands. Very few people were hurt. We came back. They did the Doolittle Tokyo raid of April 18th. They did a fantastic job, I think, on showing.
I thought that was good.
How the the raid itself, but how the Japanese just responded in China, butchering anybody that helped them.
Yeah.
Even people that didn't help them.
Yeah.
Who played Doolittle in that?
I
forgot.
It was Aaron Eckhart, maybe.
Yeah, that was great. Better than Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Do not even get me going on Alec Baldwin. That's when my friend pulled out his gun. I had to don't shoot your TV. And then it goes into the battle. And the big key about it was the intelligence. And everybody thought that the Japanese were going to, because they were heading towards the Southwest Pacific. They thought it was going to be Australia. And Leighton didn't believe it. He could have sworn, he thought Pearl Harbor was the target, or the Midway was the target. And there's they go into it a little bit into the movie, which is great. There was during the Pearl Harbor attack, as one of the planes was passing by a particular island, they said, oh, we're passing by AF, heading to the carrier. Leighton and his people determined that AF might have been Midway Island. So they sent out an uncoded message saying Midway saltwater purification is broken down. Could you send us another one? And then they watched Japanese intelligence. 2 days later, the Japanese intelligence said AF does not have saltwater purification. So that's what convinced Nimitz to send the 3 carriers out to Midway. It was an incredible battle. There is no way we should have won this battle, but we were there ahead of. They do a great job in showing how, and they did it in Tora, how Nagumo was too cautious. Nagumo was not a Yamamoto. He was not a Halsey. And they showed the scene very well about how everybody got lost. The 3 carrier groups got lost. The torpedo bombers and the fighters went in first, brought all the Japanese fighters down to the deck. All the anti-aircraft guns were aiming down across the water. All the Japanese fighters were down there. And then there was indications, the Japanese got indications that there might have been a carrier in the area, an American carrier. So they started switching out bombs to torpedoes. But they did it in such a hurry, they left everything on the deck. And then the best part of the movie is when the 3 dive bomber groups come in at the same time and go after the carriers. And because all the fighters and all the anti-aircraft guns are pointed at sea level, there was very little opposition. In 6 minutes, they wiped out 3 Japanese carriers. And I think they did. My only flaw with the scene is they don't fly 6 dive bombers right around each other as they're going in. I know that was for dramatic effect. And I think it was very good because I love the way it dealt with, I think when they sank the Kaga, the admiral who stayed on board, Yamaguchi, but it's a very good movie. It is probably 85% historically accurate. There's a lot of inaccuracies in it, but that's mostly for dramatic effect, combining things together to make it quicker. What did you guys think?
I really like it. I've watched this one like three or 4 times. I really like it. It moves fast. The special effects are really good.
Yes.
In it. Patrick Wilson's great. Ed Skrein that played, can't think of his name right now, but he played a real guy that his story is true. I read up on him.
What was his name?
I forgot his name. He ended up, because of his oxygen mask not having.
Breathing
in the fumes.
Again.
He couldn't. Yeah, but he lived to a ripe old age.
I think he became a trainer.
Yeah, and I think he ended up working for NASA, or no, not NASA, but like one of the big airlines. Anyway, it's funny because Ed Skrein and the actor that plays his bombardier,
Dick Best.
Dick Best.
Yeah.
Dick
Best.
You.
That's who
Dick
it was.
Best. Yeah, he was the
best. Okay, ladies, no bad comments.
But the guy that played his bombardier, they were in that movie. What's that movie where the girl's a robot? We just watched it a couple. It's a James Cameron movie. She's
Alita.
Alita.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm going way into this, but he kills that guy. He kills his bombardier in that. His bombardier is Alita's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he's that bounty hunter with the sword, and he kills him. Anyway. Love this movie. Patrick Wilson. Had that one guy, I cannot forget his name, but Hadley knows his name. Played his commanding officer. Luke Evans. Luke Evans. Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Aaron Eckhart.
Nick Jonas,
which his part was kind of a throwaway part, It
was.
I mean, you really got invested in him, and then the Japanese throw him over the side of the ship, and you never. I guess he died. I guess he didn't escape. But anyway, it's a good flick. Yeah. I had a lot of fun with this one, and like I said, I've seen it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So I really liked it. I liked it better than Pearl Harbor.
You're
Scott's
just
favorite
trying
movie.
to get me.
Yes. Dennis Quaid. Yes, Dennis Quaid was in that. That's right.
Oh God,
Thank you.
the only thing about the movie that I kind of was disappointed in was they never went into Spruance, who took over from Halsey.
Jake
You know?
Weber, right? Wasn't Jake
Yeah,
Weber Spruance?
Jake Weber.
Maybe.
No,
Was it Jake Weber?
Jake Weber is at the beginning, right? And he's like he's got a really small part, right? At the
No,
beginning.
he's got a small part, but he's at the end. He's not
Yeah.
at the beginning. I think he was Spruance.
He's from Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, a little older, but yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
This is a good film. I watched it when it first came out, and I was like, it was all right. And then I watched it again. I finished it last night. I watched it over 2 nights, and it was great. It was really good.
Yeah.
Those dive bombers have unbelievable basketball-sized nuts to drive to just dive like, oh my
Yes.
God, with all
Yeah.
that flak pounding machine guns going.
Yeah.
You never really think about what a dive bomber does, and they literally fly into death. And then they have to fly out of death again without getting shot down.
Right.
And, you know, of the 40, 50 planes that went, only 9 came or 12 came back or something like that. It was
Yeah.
crazy just because of what they do, you know? And
Well,
that was a really good depiction of it.
Well, you know what shows it better though? I think the original Midway is better at showing the loss of all those crews.
Yeah, no,
than this was.
that's
But
well, this
you
was
know.
focused more on the like the special effects aspect of it
Right.
than the story.
Mhm.
Because the story's been told 100 times, you know.
yeah.
But I think Ed Screen's character was good. I thought he was okay, but I
Yeah.
really liked Luke Evans' character. I thought he was great.
Mhm.
Yeah, overall, this was a surprisingly good movie.
I like the part where they have John Ford on Midway Island.
Yes.
And he's filming, you know, everything's going to crap, and he's just
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that
Yeah,
was cool.
and he actually was wounded on the island.
Oh, was he really? They should
Yeah.
get that on there.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of the filming sequences, I like admit when they attacked Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
they had the Japanese planes coming in way too low and too many at the same time. And you know, 5 or 6 dive bombers wouldn't group up and go after the Japanese carriers. But other than that, they had I don't think they ever mentioned his name, but Ensign Gay, the guy from the torpedo planes that was shot down, and was sitting right in the middle of the carrier group watching the 3 Japanese carriers get blown apart.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they had Bjorn Ironhide, and he got blown away.
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah, burned.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do
That
you
was a
guys
tough
rate this?
scene.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed that movie.
I'll give it $4 because I really enjoyed it, and I'd watch it again. So
I will give it 4.1 dongs just because you gave it 4.
and
I
Well,
like
I'm going to give it 4.2. No, I really do think it's a good movie.
got Dong and V.
Morgana, if you have a dog, give the dog the CD, the DVD. It'll be put to better use than having to watch that monstrosity. It really is horrible. If anybody watches that thinking, I'm going to learn a lot about history, they aren't going to learn crap. Okay. So,
Matt Damon.
yeah, how P-40 pilots are going to take B-25 bombers off of the Hornet. Anyways, we've done history from a historical aspect. Now let's do Pearl Harbor in the first month of the war from the insane, crazy aspect.
All right. How about right before that, Scott? Alan Lassiter had a question. He said, if we like movies that use actual footage from the war.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's done well.
And Tora did that.
Yeah.
Some of those scenes of the Japanese taking off from the carrier in color were actually filmed by the Japanese.
Wow.
And Max asked the question earlier, did we catch... Yes, we caught at Midway, we caught them switching. They had just switched torpedoes to bombs and were starting the takeoff. And when we started dropping that stuff, I mean, not only were we taking out fully gassed planes, there was all that ordnance around them. That's why when the ship hit, they went up the way they did.
So another thing about this that I didn't know, and I don't know if it is historically accurate or not, was that the American torpedoes did not work.
No,
I didn't know that. I had never heard that before, and I always thought, well, I mean, if the Japanese dropped torpedoes on us, why didn't we do it on them? And we did. We absolutely did, and they didn't work. I mean, unless that's inaccurate as well. But it
No.
seemed like something that they wouldn't make up. So
Yeah. It's
no,
too big
and
of
that was one of the problems American submarines had the first year of the war. These guys were going in right up to to Japan, and they launched torpedoes, and it turned out that the way it was set, it was technical. If you set it for 6 inches, it defaulted to 18. So they were setting them right, but the torpedoes would just go too far down.
It sounds like some people would like that 6-inch to 18-inch default. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, well, and I'm sure our ladies will comment on that.
Extra dongage.
Yeah, hey, right there.
Dongs.
I guess before we get into any trouble, we'll move on. Huh?
Hey, if we get into trouble, it's because Hadley wasn't here. There was no adult supervision.
That's right. That's right. Okay, mine's 1979. Steven Spielberg's 1941. This is his comedy. I use that term loosely. Only 6 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the news that the Japanese are about to attack sunny California spreads like wildfire. Californian wildfire. Imagine that. Indeed, amid rampant paranoia, a Japanese submarine surfaces off the California coast, commanded by an ambitious commander, Akira Mitamura, who wants to destroy the illustrious symbol of America, Hollywood.
Hollywood.
And there's also a German officer aboard, played by Christopher Lee. Anyway, however, a swift, battle-scarred Curtiss P-4 Warhawk fighter patrols the sky, and its brave United States Army Air Corps, they've got Air Force here, Captain Wild Bill Kelso is destined for glory. And that's the synopsis of the story. It's a wild, crazy story that has funny moments in it, but it's not funny. And it's got a great cast. It's got John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Murray Hamilton, and Lorraine Gary from Jaws, Tim Matheson from Animal House, Nancy Allen from RoboCop, Christopher Lee, Treat Williams, Warren Oates from Stripes, John Candy, Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries, the guys that played Lenny and Squiggy on Laverne and Shirley, Diane Kay from Eight Is Enough, Bobby DeSico, and Perry Lang from The Big Red One. You got some old timers too, Slim Pickens, Elijah Cook Jr. I mean, you had just an eclectic cast, especially a lot of people that were in comedies and in movies in the 80s and real early 90s. And it was just stuffed full of all this star power. I remember standing in line to see this because Spielberg was at the top of his game at that time. So it's like 19, and the preview, the trailer of this was just, it looked great. You had John Belushi flying this P-40 down, LA, firing at stuff. You had this big Ferris wheel rolling into the ocean. You had, a Japanese sub firing. I mean, it was crazy. And it looked great. And it had a $35 million budget, and it made $92 million, which it did have a return, right? A little return. But it was considered one of his biggest flops. So, and this also had Ned Beatty and the great Japanese actor Toshiro Mifune in it. But Spielberg can make movies that have funny elements in it, but he doesn't make comedies. And this is what he was really pushing with this movie. And it just didn't get there. It had some really cool elements of the time, of the era, during World War II. You had the big, to me, my favorite scene is the USO Club. The big fight scene between all the armed services. The dance scene before that, which I thought was pretty funny, with Treat Williams is trying to get the zoot suit Bobby DeSico, trying to beat him up because he's trying to take his girlfriend. And and then there's a fight between the Marines and everybody else. And I thought that was great. To me, that was a really well choreographed scene. But that's, to me, where it kind of ended on this. I mean, John Belushi, his crazy Wild Bill Kelso was a lot of fun, but that's John Belushi. And Dan Aykroyd was okay. He was okay. And he's a tank commander. And John Candy was all right. I mean, a lot of these actors that are really great, they were just, but it was the script, it had a lot of cool special effects. It was based on the Battle of LA, where they saw something in the sky and they lit up the LA sky, thinking it was a Japanese attack. And I stood in line to see this movie when it came out in '79, had high hopes for it. I walked out thinking, what the hell did I just see? Because I didn't know if I'd seen a comedy or kind of an action-y movie, World War II movie, It had the costuming, the set designs, everything to me was great. But it just didn't work. Just did not work. What do you guys think?
I thought it was super flat. It was I think they shot for Airplane and just missed with the slapstick drop comedy. It just didn't work. It was just bad. And you think Steven Spielberg, and you think, how many movies has this guy made that are just phenomenal? And they don't have to have enormous special effects. He's got some heart renders too. And this just it just sucked. There was no good part about it. John Belushi, I mean, it was one of the few roles that he had in movies before he passed away.
Right.
He was moderately entertaining, but he was the same character he was in every movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, it kind of made me sad, because with the cast that was there, it should have been so much better, and it just sucked. It was just not good. It got to the point where I had the remote control in my hand to turn it off. And the dog said something to me. The dog's like, "Are you serious?" And I didn't turn it off.
Well, I mean, you had Tim Matheson in it.
Yeah.
The quintessential smartass womanizer.
Yeah.
He couldn't save this movie.
No, he couldn't save it. But he had a shitty character, though. His character was crappy.
You're right. And Max said something about the compass scene with Slim Pickens. That was kind of a funny scene too, of him trying to crap out the compass, and that was, but it had bits, but it didn't have a whole.
The best part of that movie for me was the very beginning, when the girl who played the same girl in Jaws is doing the same thing.
Yes.
Down there, and the sub comes up, and I'm like, all right, this is asinine, but it's kind of funny. Yeah. And then it just went straight downhill from that. Was the best scene in the movie. It just went right down from there.
Mike is cynical.
The end.
I'm with you, Mike.
Well, I mean, it came out at the time where they were making big movies, and when you would, now movies are not a big deal, and back then, in the 70s, 80s, you were looking forward to going to the movies. You'd stand in line to see a movie, and this looked like an event type of movie, and he wanted it to be an event type of movie, but it was not.
Spielberg is not a comedic director. He puts comedy in his action movies, which works, but this was just not. I think Rich said it best. He was shooting for Airplane and missed the mark.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in it was when they had Slim Pickens. They did the throwback to one of his most famous roles in Dr. Strangelove. A half-eaten granola bar, and I'm thinking to myself, he's going through the list. $100 in rubles, $100 in American cash, box of condoms. Man could have himself a good weekend in Vegas. But and it was based, like you said, the Battle of LA, and there was a Japanese submarine that came off the coast of Portland and shelled a oil refinery. Did no damage, but it really set Americans off because, oh my God, the Japanese are now right off the coast of the United States.
Yeah.
But this movie just nothing could have saved this movie.
No, it, like Rich said, I'm going to quote Rich again. They were shooting for Airplane, and nope, it I don't know. He was all like hyped about this movie, and then when his fellow directors and stuff saw it, they were like,
I couldn't wait to see it.
I couldn't either.
I was
Yeah.
itching to see it. You know, I was a kid. I was what? I was 11 at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta see this movie. This looks fantastic. And I saw it. I saw it a few years later, and I was like, it just didn't work for me. It didn't work for anybody because it's touted as being
No.
pretty terrible. So
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Here's a little trivia thing. John Landis was in this. Did you see John Landis in this? He played the motorcycle, the soldier.
Oh,
You know,
was
the one with the
that?
horse. That was
Okay.
John Landis. Okay.
yeah, no, I get it.
Okay.
Now, yeah,
That scene, the scenes he was in were restored because they had a falling out during the Twilight Zone movie when all that happened, and they had a falling out. So Spielberg deleted all his scenes,
Oh.
and then they, got back together, made up, kissed and everything, and he added them back in. But how petty is that?
yeah, it's ridiculous.
I mean, it didn't really add anything to the movie or anything, but it gave John Belushi access to the motorcycle, but it really didn't add anything. So I don't know.
So what do we rate this?
I for nostalgia, I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2 as well, just because John Belushi was in it.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg tried. He really tried, but and it's
I
not as
give it-
bad as some of the shit we've seen. So
True.
No.
True.
I give it a 2 because I love the characters of that Warren Oates played
Oh
and
yeah.
Belushi. I mean, they were just gung ho insane. I love that. I love at the very end of the movie when he gets in the submarine and they put the guns on him and he goes, "Okay, take me to Tokyo." Like he won that battle. Lee, I saw your question. The Japanese used some type of wooden fins at Pearl Harbor because the fear was that the torpedoes usually go deep and then come up, and they would have struck the bottom of Pearl Harbor. So they did use some makeshift fin or bracket to allow the torpedoes to stay at destruction level. And somebody else here mentioned Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I love that movie. That is one of my favorite movies. And I'll admit, as much as embarrassing as it is, the scene with Steve Martin at the airport, the rental car terminal,
swearing.
I get like that. My wife has heard me go off on really bad people like that. And so now we'll go to Rich's movie.
Yes.
Right. I picked the movie Greyhound. I didn't want to pick another Pearl Harbor movie. We had we had 3 Pearl Harbor movies. So I crossed the ocean and I picked a movie in the North Atlantic. Nothing to do with Pearl Harbor, but definitely World War II. So it's Greyhound with Tom Hanks, and it's a 2020 war film whose screenplay was written by, little-known actor Tom Hanks. Mr. Hanks also starred in the film, which was based on a C.S. Forrester novel, The Good Shepherd, which I've never read, and I think that I might. It's directed by Aaron Schneider. Greyhound stars that Hanks guy, Stephen Graham, and a bunch of other people, and there's a bit part by Elizabeth Shue. Movie gets a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes and it had a budget of $50 million, which I thought was nuts.
Yeah.
But most of that money went to the Hanks kid and the special effects crew and the ships used to film it in the Atlantic. Unfortunately, COVID killed the theatrical release of the film, so Apple TV bought it, for the pocket lint price of $70 million. And it premiered on Apple TV in July 2020 because all of us peasants have Apple TV, and that's super fair. Right? So Hanks himself got COVID when the film was supposed to release in March of 2020.
Oh.
Right? So the plot of the movie is that there's a giant hole in the air cover possibility in the North Atlantic during crossings in World War II. So you're coming from east to or west to east, there's a big hole. The planes go so far that they have to turn back, and it's the same for the other side. So there's a big giant area where you have no air cover. So at a certain point, the sub-destroying aircraft can't carry enough fuel to guard a convoy of ships all the way across. That point is called the Black Pit. and the ships are on their own. Merchant ships, tankers, troop transports are eventually all at the mercy of the German U-boats, which is why they are escorted by a fantastic actor, Tom Hanks. Greyhound is the story of one of the destroyers tasked with guarding the ships on the crossing, and Captain Hanks is in charge. The only other true war movie Hanks was in was Saving Private Ryan. I know he's been in a couple of other movies with war in it, but that was the only other really true war movie.
Right.
And he got very dead in that one. So I was nervous the whole time watching Greyhound. I'm like, they're going to kill him again. They're going to kill him.
Yeah.
The entire film is a cat and mouse game for a few days between German submarines and the few destroyers guarding the fleet. You get to see some shit blow up, and that's cool. But what's really cool is watching how difficult and terrifying it was to calculate like trajectory headings and enemy sublocations while it's freezing cold in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and torpedoes are inbound. I have no idea how these guys did it. One of the things that was in the movie was the windshield wipers froze, and they can't see out the damn windows. I mean, that's the kind of crap you got to deal with. You know, the film's only a few years old, and although it doesn't have anything to do with Pearl Harbor, I couldn't leave this one out. It's a really good war movie, and I don't want to ruin it by telling you what happens any more than I already have. I would very much recommend the film if you like getting seasick and watching things explode. Plus, it has Woody from Toy Story and Tommy from Snatch.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Snatch. Yeah, you got to say
the
Snatch.
comment in there. And the cook dies. That I will wreck for you.
Oh,
because
yeah.
It absolutely sucked. And
he doesn't get his
so broken
steak.
up about it. I know. 4.5 dongs from me. What'd you guys think?
Oh man, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I watched it on Apple TV. See, I'm one of the elite. No, actually, I did the free trial because I'm not paying for another streamer, especially Apple. I don't know. It was good. It was good. I love old naval movies, you know, and this one had a lot of tension in it. Like Max said, it might have been a little bit long. That's what she said. But anyway, it did have a lot of tense action scenes in it. Excuse me, the special effects were good.
You said tense, right? Because I thought
that's what I thought, but I thought it was just me.
Yeah.
What'd I say?
I thought you said tits.
Tits.
Oh,
had a lot of tits. I was like,
might have had those too. Well, I'm
movie,
sure Tom Hanks does. He's what, almost 70? So yeah, he probably has a good set. But anyway, I recommend this movie too, Rich. I enjoyed it. You had Tommy from Snatch. I mean, those are about the Elizabeth Shue and Tom Hanks are about the only actors you really recognize in that. Yeah. So it was a good flick. Good flick. I like those kind of movies. Scott?
I liked it. It is the only movie, accurate movie I can think of that talks about the North Atlantic War. I watched it about a month ago while I was doing stuff. I didn't like it, but I watched it the 2 nights ago and I paid attention to it. I didn't go on Facebook, and I'm not a big expert on Atlantic warfare, but the windshield wipers freezing, him having to wear his slippers, just the whole concept. This was his first command, and you know, at one scene you had the 6 U-boats coming in, and you felt so bad for him when 3 transports explode.
Yeah,
and you know, and then the other scene where the transport exploded and he has to make the choice between saving the crew members or going back to fight off the other German submarines. I liked it. I thought it was really intense. I thought it accurately portrayed what it was like submarine, anti-submarine warfare and the horrendous conditions in the North Atlantic. This movie, though, would have been much better paired with Dust Boat.
Yes.
To see the German U-boat perspective. Oh, my God. And my favorite scene is the one where the German U-boat is wounded and has to come to the surface, and it keeps on going close to the destroyers so they can't shoot at it.
That's a good commander.
I like how the U-boat commander would taunt them, get on the radio, taunt them.
Yeah.
What balls you got, man?
Yeah, it was a good movie. I really enjoy it.
Periscope down. Is that with Kelsey Grammer?
Oh, I love that movie. I think that movie is great.
That's funny.
No, but Up Periscope was a good one. But but those are all Pacific War movies.
Yeah.
This is one of the first movies I can think of that was fairly accurate, that talked about the war in the North Atlantic. So what would you guys give it?
4.5.
I'll give it a 4. Definitely. I enjoyed it. My wife even enjoyed it. So of course she's Navy. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Oh, well, we'll forgive her for that.
Right.
My family was Marine Corps. I never served, but all my family was Marine Corps. So, and a friend of my father's was Navy, and he always used to refer to the Marines as naval infantry. Pissed my father off. I'd give this 4.5. The only scenes that, in my opinion, they could have got rid of and it wouldn't have affected the movie were the scenes with Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah.
I didn't, those, and I think that's what turned me off the first time I saw it. But I think Hanks did a great performance on this one. But like you said, it came out, it was released during the COVID era. It went straight to streaming service. I would like to see it on the big screen sometime.
Yeah, I don't know if the special effects would hold up on the big screen.
I don't know
on that one, because they were kind of a lot of CGI on that. So I don't know, but it definitely a movie to see.
A lot of water special effects. A lot of stuff with the water that looked really good.
Yeah.
Where now? Lee Edwards asking, where did U-571? It's Atlantic, right? Was that Atlantic?
Oh yeah, that was in the Atlantic, but I don't remember part of it. Now, Das Boot. It's funny. It's a very accurate movie, except the author of the book hates the movie. It was based on his book, and he said it was because while the fight scenes were accurate, in the movie, all the Germans do is scream as they run through the submarine. And he said,
as much noise as possible.
Yeah, and he said, that's not what we did. We spoke the commands. But yeah, if you're looking for a really good German-based movie, Das Boot, what it was like being a U-boat commander in the Atlantic.
Now talking about submarine movies, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen that horror movie Below?
Nope.
Oh, it's American submarine crew, and they pick up survivors of a U-boat sunk a British, I think a medical ship or something, and they pick the survivors up. You've never seen Below?
No.
Watch it. It's pretty good. If you like, World War II horror movies, it's really good.
I'll have to check that out. It sounds familiar, but I'll have to watch it.
It's by the guy that made Pitch Black. So.
Oh, I like Pitch Black.
Yeah. So.
But the one thing I feel bad about watching these movies, I mean, it was, yes, I think we should commemorate, but I hate it when you hear like last year, the last of the Tuskegee Airmen passed away.
Yeah.
I think it was in 2019 that the last Doolittle Tokyo Raider passed away. 10 years from now, this World War II will be to the current generation what the Civil War was to us. It will only be history that you won't know anyone.
Oh yeah.
No. And somebody had asked earlier, good Korean War movies.
Hacksaw Ridge?
No, Hacksaw Ridge was World War II.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And Hacksaw Ridge is an excellent movie.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know. There's a lot from the 1950s and 60s. There is a movie called, I think it's on Netflix. I think it's called DMZ. It's not a Korean War movie, but it is really good flick about personal relationships between the South and the North Koreans along the demilitarized zone. Well, I'm sorry, but it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
I grew up, my father knew a lot of veterans. My uncle fought at Okinawa. He was one of, I think, 19 men to walk away from Sugarloaf Hill.
Jeez.
And there was, my father's best friend was a Marine tanker at the Chosin Reservoir. One of his friends almost lost his testicles at not Normandy, at Bastogne, at the Battle of the Bulge. I grew up listening to these stories. That was one of the things that made me love history so much. And now it's like, even Gulf War veterans are like now 30 years old. They're 30 years older. They're in their 50s and 60s. Crimson Tide, yes, excellent movie.
It was good.
My wife and I it came out in the 90s, right? And we were fairly new married. We got in a big old fight over that movie.
Why?
Over the decision that was made. Because my wife was Navy, and she was, at that time, her thought pattern was pretty black and white. And I was like, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have, followed the orders. And she said, well, military, you got to follow.
Yeah.
So we had a big, I remember that. And we laugh about it today, but we got
the only part of that movie I did not like, that I think ruined it, was when they were waiting for the orders to come in from Washington, and the discussion about whether the zebra is black with white stripes or white with black stripes. I thought that brought race into it, and that wasn't the issue. The issue was strict command, or do we question orders?
Right.
No,
See, that's
it's a
where our
political
fight
film.
was.
Yeah. But
That's
I
where
mean,
our
that to me ruined it, because it was he didn't disagree with him because of race. He disagreed with him because Gene Hackman thought he was disobeying orders.
Yeah. And you can't go wrong, Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington in a movie together.
Oh God, no!
Holy crap!
All
Gene's
right.
getting old.
Oh, he doesn't make movies anymore.
No.
It's horrible. Well, yeah, and that dude was in everything for a while.
Yeah.
Especially in the late 80s,
Yep.
mid 90s,
He did the bit part thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh my God, and he was so good in No Way Out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's almost time. We'll be wrapping it up. We are sorry Hadley could not be here tonight,
Yes.
but I'm sure she's having more fun with the aliens than she is with us. So what do you guys got going? Alan?
Well, now I got to work on a book, actually. Now I got to get one of my books going, one of my babies out there. So I'm just going to be writing right now, and I'm just trying to promote Hunt the Night. Pick up Hunt the Night, folks. Pick
Okay.
it up. Pick it up.
Yeah,
But that's
I'm
all I
waiting
got
for the
going.
paperback version, then I'm going to
Yeah.
get it.
Same.
Well, I'm going
Here.
to have to prod Jason into getting it going then. I
That's
really
fine.
want him to get the Audible going, too, because that's, a lot of people listen to
Thank you,
Audible.
Wanda.
So,
All
Well, you
right,
thanks, Wanda.
Rich?
Same as always. Still writing. I've got 4 or 5 things in the works. Writing the fifth in the theory series. I've got 3
Very good.
anthology stories I'm writing right now. One I just kind of finished. It's called Up from the Depths. It's another Skywatcher Press thing.
Okay.
And I've still got that Vampire Tank Commander going. I let that go for a little while. I got rid of like 30,000 words in that. I was like,
Oh.
it just wasn't working out. So
Yeah.
I started not over, but pretty close, and I'm liking where that's going now.
You'll like it, Max. You just started Chaos Theory. You'll love it. You'll love
Oh,
it.
you did? Awesome. Thanks, Max.
I know
We miss you
I
too,
wanna-
Matt Morgana.
I want to jump into that series, but I'm reading now other series I've fallen behind.
No, I hear you.
That's
All
hard.
Let me see.
What about you?
I'm working on a special project. I was hoping to get out before Christmas. I probably won't. I'm trying to get I'm taking my Rada World trilogy, since they've been taken off the market, and I'm putting them back on as a box set.
Oh, good.
And then I'm going to finish off Nurse Alyssa 9, and then we'll go from there. Probably Nurse Alyssa 9, the next Tatiana book, and the next Chronicles of Paul book.
Oh, cool. Rada World was
Smart.
one of the first Kindle book series I read.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I didn't know who you were.
Yeah. Now you do, and you're like,
I was like,
that
oh,
explains a lot.
It makes sense now.
Yeah. Do any of us remember what next week's movies are?
No, we need the Dong Wrangler for that one. The
Yeah.
boss. I don't know.
No, I know the week after that, my pussy over here is needs attention.
Don't they all?
Yes. I know the week after next we're doing Christmas movies, but I can't remember what next week is. So it'll be a surprise even to us.
Right?
Right now, Hadley's probably looking at the TV screen just like, oh my God, these guys.
She's swearing. She's swearing right
Yeah,
now. She's
yeah.
pointing at it going, those assholes.
I'm surprised you get all that work done with that pussy right there.
It's
Yeah.
very difficult, but
Good Lord.
I got one hand on the pussy, the other hand's free.
Ah.
The other hand on the dongs.
Yeah.
Pays to
Well,
be
I don't know if you
ambidextrous.
heard him in the background, but
The
you know,
dongs? They talk?
no, usually when I'm down here, Allison's upstairs in bed and the dogs are sleeping with it. Well, with Allison not here, the dogs follow me down. And Freddie has been standing at the top of the door to the basement whining for an hour.
There's so much to unpack there, Scott.
Yes, I know there is. They're like, who's hating you right now?
Lord.
There's a long list of people who hate you, Ash. All right. Well, anyways, we are going to get going. Thank you all for being here
Yes,
tonight.
Thank you.
We really appreciate this. This is one of my favorite nights of the week, as I'm sure it is for the other
Same.
guys.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
only
Oh, yeah.
because the four of us get together and we talk movies, but you guys.
Those comments seal the deal. Look at
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
and I mean, you know, we lose track of what we're talking about because we're reading the comments about dongs,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and the comments about dongs are coming from the girls. So, so anyways, we will see you next week.
Yes.
We will post as soon as possible what next week's movies are. Take it easy. Do not go out and do a lot of Christmas shopping. Shop from home. Buy books, and we will see you next Thursday night.
Take it easy.
Ciao, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good week. End.